background noise is really going burr now. Yeah. Test, test, test. It's a bit quiet, is it? Test, test, test. Fuck it.
Alright, I'm going to assume we are good to go. Hello everyone, welcome to round 11 of the Coleslaw Cup season, and it is taking place tonight at the Temple of Speed, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, a circuit which consists of 11 corners. And as if the two DRS zones weren't good enough for overtaking the long straight after the Ascari corner into Parabolica make for exciting wheel-to-wheel action, as well as the Redafilo and Rajya chicane. And already it seems like we've had Jonathan Dunk, who's gone off. That is coming out of the second Lesmo. I'm actually quite interested to see what's happened there. Not exactly a difficult place to lose the car either. Sometimes you just get a little... get a smidge of oversteer coming out of the corner, and that's exactly what he's done. Maybe perhaps he's hit the gravel. We are going to go along with, in a second, I'm hoping, Dusty Lusky. He's already passed his timed lap. Who else do we have? Scornsy's coming around the line now, although he is finishing up his time lap. And this is quite interesting, you don't necessarily get this phenomena at any other circuit. This early run here at Monza is oftentimes the most important, as this track, very famously, both in real life and anytime you ever play this game, does have, the Mercedes, that was, I believe, Nicky 64, has just actually had a spin coming out of the Redafilo chicane there. I was along with Smith Pell temporarily, and I've seen the Mercedes spin off there. Smith Pell, though, however, he's making his way up towards the Rajya chicane. I guess I'll go along with him. This track really, these early runs in qualifying, actually very quite crucial, because this track does have a problem with drivers queuing up trying to make a time lap attempt, and then it sometimes gets in the way of the cars trying to start their timed lap as well as finish one. So these early runs here, very important. This is, after all, a very crucial round in the championship. Only, I believe the statistic was 52 points, I believe it was. Let me go ahead and check my maths here. Where is the one shot? There it is. So, 133 points available with only 4 rounds to go, including tonight, and only 52 points between the gap within the top 3. This one could go very much down to the wire, and it is going to depend on this qualifying session here. Now, we are in for a bright and sunny day, which is thankful, because typically that run down into turn number 1, very, very tricky on this circuit. More than most, actually, as really it is it's typically a battle of who can get on the brakes the latest, and then obviously everyone piles up in behind them. So really, we are talking about, in that championship fight, we got the Mercedes of Dusty Lusky, the Haas of Scornsy, and then, of course, our championship leader at this moment in time, the Ferrari of El Majacco. Now, last week out was a very interesting round at Midnight Monaco. This was a very interesting and fun round to commentate as well. I gotta say, it's meant a lot, hasn't it? Where is my... Well, my results aren't loading. Anyways, so we had Jonathan Dunk win last week. Scornsey did, after all, take second place, Dusty third, and Majacko fourth. So that was a little bit of a step in the wrong direction then from El Majacko. But even more crucially, that AlphaTauri team, which not long ago was really on the heels of Ferrari for taking the championship lead, has actually gone back quite a bit now. They are, in fact, 42 points behind that Ferrari team, so it really is, can Ferrari keep it consistent enough next week at Hungary and then the week after the sprint race at Great Britain, which that's an interesting choice to have a sprint race that far deep in the season. It was a very interesting and fun Grand Prix to be a part of at Imola, but Silverstone is a whole different animal as far as that is concerned. I believe that one could be, it could very well spell some trouble for many drivers. Shirai Coleslaw making his way out of Parabolica now. I'm going to go along with him as he makes his way down towards Variante de Redifilo. That is only the worst Italian job ever. As he makes his way down in the corner from about eighth gear down to second, gotta make sure that you get your exit correct here. You're not running wide or you're not getting oversteer. This track really, if you make one mistake, your lap is pretty much done. There's not a lot of room for error at this circuit, whereas opposed to a track like Singapore maybe, there's a lot of place, as NFS Lightwork actually goes pole, provisional pole, 119.694, as we see there. But this track really, there's very, very little amounts of places to make mistakes. One little slip-up going through any of the chicanes, and your lap is pretty much done for. I mean, at this moment of time, Lightwork's got that provisional pole. Scavney's only down by less than 0.2 of a second. I'm assuming somewhere that 0.2 is going to be very difficult for him to make up. I mean, that's a lot to ask on this track. I mean, most of it obviously driving in straight lines, so it's a setup-based track, really. And I believe as Scavney is starting a time lap here, he's going to make his way down in the first corner. Let's just see how he takes it. Slams on the brakes, bit of a lockup on his way in. Doesn't really touch the sausage curb going through it. That's gone well. And now as he makes his way towards Curva Grande, let's see, does he ride that curb? Yes, he does, using every bit of the track that he can on his way into Raggia. Now, this one, it was actually a very difficult corner in the last game. Those sausage curbs on the way in would send you literally feet into the air. And that exit, quite difficult as well. Try not to get in the gravel. Now going through the two Lesmos, very medium-speed corner. That's definitely a bit of the track where you can catch a couple drivers out by surprise, as it's done for Jonathan Dunk. And now as you make your way out of the second Lesmo, DRS is activated now as you head towards Ascari. Now, this is by far, if you ask me, the most difficult corner on the circuit. There's so many ways to get this corner wrong. As you can see, Scavney's just had a bit of a slide there midway through the corner. But he's actually done quite well. You can go wide, you can spin off the curbs on the inside, and that one surely is going to be a very fun one to watch during the races. He now makes his way around Parabolica. This one I don't think is going to contend for pole, and no, it definitely won't, as he spun out then. And I believe, honestly, he did have quite a good lap going, but now he's completely used up that set of soft tires. He will not be carrying out that attempt naturally. I believe next up we have the Williams of Tweezer, who's going to be starting one now. These Williams drivers, I got to say, very, very keen on getting out of the garage first, as Tweezer, I think, is always usually that first driver out on track. Really tries to maximize his time out there. And, try to fix any of the mistakes. I know a lot of drivers use these early runs for, just kind of figuring out where they're losing time and whatnot. This first run isn't necessarily always the most crucial one. At this track it is, so a driver like Tweezer might have a bit of a struggle here. As you can see, he's just gone straight into the gravel there, going out of Raggia, and he's not really been able to gather it back up afterwards. Makes his way now through the first and second Lesmo. Let's see what he's got. Takes a lot of the curb on the inside. Maybe a little bit slow on exit, but he's done well otherwise. DRS open. Let's see what kind of speeds he's hitting here. 338, 39. So that's about 208 miles an hour if you're the American watching the stream. Let's see what he does. Goes through a scar. He's done that quite nicely, actually, I must say. Doesn't really seem like... I don't necessarily believe this one's going to contend for pole for sure. I think... Yeah, I don't know. I think he's gotten a little sloppy there on his way out. and he is going to try to finish out the lap. I think maybe this will help him. He does actually better his previous attempt by a 1/10.5, but it doesn't improve him any. Still 2.5 seconds behind, so he definitely still has some work to do. I believe Dusty Lusky has just finished a time lap. He also a 1/10.5 better. Next up to the line, I believe we do have the AlphaTauri. That was A-Dub, who has invalidated. Dace is right behind him, who I believe at this he is going to be starting his timed lap now. Assuming he doesn't come in, which he does, because he has a full battery. I'd like to assume that if you have a full battery, you're probably going to be making your way onto another timed lap. He has not done that. Next up behind him, I believe that is the Alpine, then, of Smith Pell, who has also invalidated. So, at this moment in time, we do have 6.5 minutes left in the session. I would expect to see more drivers out on track shortly, but it doesn't quite appear that it's that way. Smith Pell has saved up his battery. We'll have to see. It looks like he's got a brand new set of softs on as well, so we're going to have to assume that this will be a timed attempt from him. Currently sitting P15, just under 2 seconds off the pace. He's definitely going to be looking for a better one here. A little bit slow on exits of the Redifilo chicane. You know, he's a little bit tentative getting back on the throttle, and I believe that's hurt him just a little bit. I think I got the Mercedes Nicky 64. No, it's not him. It's Dusty Lusky, I believe, who might be in low fuel mode. That he is. Back on then with Smith Pell. Oh, we got the Ferrari going off then, I believe. Elma Jacko maybe has just had a bit of an off there. I was going along, switching through the cameras, and I saw him sideways. As well as now, I believe, the Red Bull then of Mo Power Cowboy is actually just DNF'd there. Well, in my endless pursuit of trying to find out what's going on, Mo Power Cowboy has actually not been able to finish the session. He's had somewhat of an off coming out of the Redifilo chicane. I'm not actually quite sure where he's done that. Has he maybe just spun the car around, clipped the grass, and then gone for a slide? That could be the case. But still, that's quite an odd place to go off, actually. Smith Pell back along with him, as I was supposed to be. Currently a second faster through his previous Sector 3 attempt, and he's going to be coming to the line now, cutting off the inside of the track there. He does go 7th, 1:20.369. That's a second and 2/10 better than his previous attempt. That puts him well inside the top 10. But the big story now, Scornsy on his outlap. He's had I would say, a relatively quiet day so far. He's about 4/10 off the pace. This is not typical territory for that Haas driver. Typically, you'd see him well within the top 3. Right now, it looks to be like he might be just on the outside looking in, as he's going to be making his way towards starting a timed attempt shortly. Speaking of timed attempt, I believe the championship leader of Elma Jacko has just started one, so we'll keep an eye on him. Scornsy to the line now. Let's see what he's got. DRS activated on the back of the Haas as he makes his way down towards the first corner. He's going to have perhaps a little bit of traffic in the way. He'll have the Mercedes then of Nicky 64 and I believe the McLaren of, I think it's either Ray Ray or Slayerized. I believe it is Slayerized. No, it actually might be Ray Ray because Slayerized is just passed. As he makes his way now through Curva Grande up towards Redifilo. Let's see what he's got. 330 kilometers, not even with DRS. Just simply going around the corner. That's massive speed then from the Haas. Takes the corner pretty okay. Maybe he's lost a little bit of time. He's taken the curb quite heavy there. Certainly possible. Hangs it through 5th gear, going through the first Lesmo. And then through the second one. Just barely, I think, even touching the grass there. DRS open then once again. And yeah, he's going to have the McLaren and the Mercedes in his way. Hopefully they don't stay in his way as he heads towards the Ascari chicane. Let's see what he's got here. Nice entry. Ray Lobo. Oh, that's gone off. That is on exit then of the Redifilo chicane. Where has he actually done that? That's very similar to that of Mo Power Cowboy, where he's had his off. And yet again, I'm not quite sure. As Shirai Coleslaw has just driven past him. That's a very interesting place to lose the car, as he probably just gone off the corner, and then the car's hooked sideways. Very much could be that, as Scornsy then decides to come into the pits. I believe as I was along with him, he was about 5/100th slower, as it turns out. Not what he needed whatsoever, as Slayerized starting his time lap. So it was Slayerized. I was right about that. Next up, I believe we have the Aston Martin. It will be M. Galloway, who has invalidated his timed attempt, so it looks like we won't be going along with him after all. Elma Jacko, I'm going to say, I don't quite think he's on a time lap either. His teammate KB07, I think he'll be starting one here shortly. KB07, that Ferrari teammate, I don't want to say he's had a relatively quiet season, but we haven't mentioned his name very too often, this guy. I think, honestly, he's got a lot to prove here, with his teammate being the championship leader. He very well could be a driver that has something to prove here. As he makes his way down towards the first corner, it looks like we've had an Alfa Romeo go off. It is VTEC, and that's off the Ascari chicane, and, well, the car, for some reason, is refusing to move. I believe, honestly, he might... Is he beached? What's going on here? The car is bouncing like some form of lowrider. Anyways, KBO7 making his way now out of Curva Grande up towards the Raggi chicane. He's currently, and yeah, there you go, VTEC disqualified from the session, parked in a dangerous location. Currently 3/100ths slower through the first sector, and I believe he didn't have a very good go of the... he didn't really have a good go of Raggia as well. He rather clipped the gravel on exit, so we'll have to assume that this lap might just not be his best, as M. Galloway has retired as well. It is, however, a purple sector 2 from KBO7. That one has gone better by just under 3.5 tenths, and yeah, he is now quite slow going through Ascari. Somewhere he has botched the line going through that corner, and I'm afraid this one might not be the lap that he'll want to hold on to. We have just over a minute now left in the session. We do have light work on an outlap. Dace, which I believe is actually behind, and he has invalidated, so has he saved up his battery enough to be able to take another go around, as it looks like in the pits comes Shariah Coleslaw to retire from the session. Let's see if Dace can get a good timed lap attempt here. DRS now open for the AlphaTauri. He'll be looking to make his way on pole. Light work, mind you, going through Ascari now. He is on his outlap, so we have really 3 or 4 good laps to see here. And Scavney, I just went along with him temporarily. He's lost it in the gravel coming out of the Raggia chicane, and he's absolutely eaten the left side wall, and he unfortunately will not get the chance to improve upon his lap time, as Dace, I believe, is going to be driving to the scene of the crime just now, on his way in to Raggia. And I tell you what, Scavney really is, well, he's actually not much in the circuit as much as I thought he was. I thought it was much worse than that. A little bit slow, I'd say, from Dace going through the first Lesmo. He kind of looked a little bit tentative getting back on the throttle, as the time has now fully elapsed in the qualifying session. Next up to the line will be, I believe it will be the Williams of Tweezer, who looks like this isn't going to be a valuable attempt from him. Dace has now just invalidated. Oh, and then he spun the car around. Where has Dace actually invalidated? Has that been going through Ascari? That's where I'd have to believe it's happened, because that was a rather sudden turn of events there. So then we'll go along with light work, going through the second Lesmo now. Let's see what he's got. DRS in his favor. Currently provisional pole sitter, that is light work. He'll be coming up to the timing line here shortly. Let's see what his sector time is looking. He's actually slower by 6/100ths of a second, so perhaps is there room to be had here for Scornsey, who, by the way, is entering now the Parabolica corner. Does he have anything for light work here? Currently, as we said, perhaps on the outside looking in. Oh, and that Mercedes has really, I think he's almost gotten in the way there, has the Mercedes, and Scornsey does improve by 1/10.5, but I have to say, Nicky64 was on the left-hand side of the circuit, and he's almost really gotten in the way then of the Haas. That was not good at all, but that will do it then for this qualifying session. It is NFS Lightwork on pole, Dace in second, Scavney third, Scornsey fourth, and then Smith-Pell in fifth. So, the big story being so far, El Majacco and the Ferrari team, as well as his teammate of KBO7, have really struggled so far, and they're going to have a lot of work to do going into this race. That is actually, I didn't expect him to see him that far down at all, really. He is actually quite left this door wide open for Scornsey and Dusty to have a foothold in this championship. So Lightwork on pole, Dace in second, Scavney third, Scornsey fourth, Smith-Pell fifth, A-Dub sixth, Dusty Lusky seventh, his teammate Nicky64 in eighth, right beside him there on row 4, and El Majacco ninth, Shariah 10th, 11th Slayerized, 12th Galloway, 13th KBO7, 14th Knuckles, 15th is Ray Ray, 16th Tweezer, 17th Ray Lobo, 18th Jonathan Dunk, 19th is Mopao Cowboy, rounding out the field P20, who unfortunately did get disqualified. I was along to see that, get stuck in the gravel, is VTEC. So, Scornsey going to be starting on the second row here. He's got himself a pretty good shot at earning some valuable points today. His main rival, I'd say at this point, Dusty Lusky, not far behind him, but El Majacco really, has he left the door open here? That's going to be the biggest question. And Will Enns, who, by the way, thank you for doing this. He's Willand's asking if he do comms for the start. He absolutely can. So if he wants to unmute himself, perhaps he's more than welcome to. As it looks like we do have ourselves a bright and sunny day, which was brought to you by the weather report of well, it was Shariah. It was I thought you were the weatherman at some point. No, it was actually Unholy. Never mind. But yes. Welcome. How that was an interesting qualifying session. What do you there's a lot to talk about, actually. What any big surprises for you?
Yeah, I mean, light work on pole can't be much of a surprise, but I think especially in the midfield it does look a little bit mixed up. So yeah, I mean, I expect it to be very competitive in the midfield. Drivers like Dusty and Jacko and all sorts. People like Sharil will be wanting to see if they can get up there as well, and you know, there's some fast people like Dace as well that are going to want to be trying to possibly challenge for the win as well.
And he's absolutely going to be in position to do that. Now, once again, this drive down to that first corner is going to be absolutely crucial. Does anybody make a mistake and perhaps, I don't know, somehow have an influence on this championship battle? It's definitely not out of the question. And Elma, Jacko, and Dusty being in that, really in the mix of it then, that could very well happen for them. I'm hoping it doesn't, but by God, that would be something to see if it did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll be getting on the grid relatively soonish. They've had a bit of time now to sort out their final strategy preparations. I mean, you'd hope most people would have their strategy in mind before the race, so it's just about putting that into action. So we'll just be waiting for the host to ready up now.
Absolutely, and so let's take you through the remaining schedule. Obviously tonight at Monza. Next week we go to Budapest in Hungary, a track that, well, I definitely have mixed feelings of, but I have yet to see that track put on a bad race, in-game at the very least. And then after that we go to, well, it's actually Will Antis' homecoming. We go to Great Britain for the second sprint race of the year. And then finally, now I am very excited for this, rounding out the season in Spa. That one could very well produce some fireworks. I love the direction that this remaining couple of races is going. We could be in for one hell of a countdown here, really.
Yeah, hopefully it's just the right amount of spicy.
So really quick, while we have a moment here, let me see if I can give us further insight into the championship battle. So yeah, currently Jacko, first in constructors, 159 to Scornzy's 156. Sorry, that's 199, not 159. Yeah, Jacko's 199, Scornzy's 156, Dusty Lusky 147. Then it's both the Haas's, AlphaTauri's, Dace, and A-Dub Soda 103 and 101. Those two drivers really, I'd say, next. That's I think, and then after that, the next highest actual driver on the grid is NFS Lightwork, who has only been in. Is that right? He's only been around for the past 2 races. That he won it at Imola and then came 6th at Monaco. That is quite impressive to be that high up in the standings. After only completing 2 races. The obviously not many points awarded in this league as opposed to some others, but that one is actually quite interesting there. As far as constructors go, obviously Ferrari on top, 254 to AlphaTauri's 212, and then Haas third at 175. Actually, Mercedes not that far behind at 170, and then Aston Martin in 5th, 102. So I tell you what, a couple of weeks ago, you could have had me saying that AlphaTauri team might have walked away with the championship. Now I'm not so sure. It looks like they've had themselves a very tricky couple of races here, and they're very much running out of time to right the ship as the formation lap beginning here. Will, do you have any, I'd say, last-minute predictions here going into the race? Is there anyone perhaps on the outside looking in that you think could take the win away here?
I mean, Lightwork does look incredibly quick, doesn't he? I mean, Scornsy, I'd never count him out as well. And you never know, there could be a surprise winner if we have some action up front, maybe an off or 2. But I think Lightwork's probably got to be the favourite. Dace will be there if he can not crash. And Scavney's just missed a consistency, he'll just keep it there. and just try and make use of anybody else's mistakes, I suppose.
It's going to be a very interesting trek into Turn 1. Now, while we have a minute, let's look at the tire strategies. 9 drivers starting on the softs, 8 starting on the mediums, and then the minority being those starting on the hards. Only 3 of them. Now, those softs will go between... Now, I don't know... You see, El Majacco called me out on this last week. I do not know how up-to-date these tire ages are. I don't know how much they've changed within this new game, but according to my notes, those soft tires will go about 11 to 13 laps, the mediums from 15 to 18, and the hards 17 to 22. So a whole array of tire strategies here tonight. I really do. I'm actually quite thankful to see that, because that means really anything can happen. Light work as well, starting on those medium tires. Behind him's got Dace and Scavney starting on the soft. So we'll go ahead and assume he is at the disadvantage going into the first corner. Scornsy in behind, he's on the mediums, Smith Pell mediums, A-Dub mediums, and then Dusty on the softs. So it really looks like Light work might be in a bit of trouble here if he doesn't get off the line well. It very well could be a close one in a Turn 1. We'll have to wait and see, as pulling up to the grid spots in the immersive formation lap. Interesting to see Light work. How well does he angle himself across the circuit? Not much, actually. Dace doesn't really angle himself either. This is always fun to analyze here, because then you have a driver like Scornsy. He's actually quite parked at a 35-degree angle there, pointing right in between the AlphaTauri and the Red Bull on the row ahead.
He showed some intent to Scavney there, I think, on where he wants to go. As Ray manages to fail to park in a grid slot.
And VTech making his way back to the line here now. Apparently, as I found out, waiting on the grid here for the drivers to form up doesn't actually do away your tire temperature. That's quite interesting. That is, I believe the lights are going to be turning on here. I can't find myself a camera angle of it. We'll just go ahead and
on board with light work for the start, and it's 5 red lights and away we go. And that's a fantastic start by Dace. He's already clear past light work. Looks like Light work really got bogged down, because Scornsy's now alongside of him going into Turn 1. Scavney behind looking a little bit interested as well, just backing off a little bit, I think, to keep safe. Light work seems to maybe have a little bit of a lock-up there. Scornsy going clean around the outside of him. Our leader is down into, our pole position, down into P3. Scavney had a little bit of an off there, but he seems to have recollected it. He's under pressure from A-Dub, though, behind. Smith Pell watching on eagerly behind this one.
I tell you what, Smith Pell nearly went clean into the back of the Red Bull there. It was very lucky that he didn't, as it looks like Lightwork has managed to hold off Scornsy going through the Rajia chicane. Smith Pell's gone around A-Dub. We have a yellow flag off towards the back. It is the McLaren of Ray, who seems to have missed the Rajia chicane. But it seems at this moment in time, El Majacco has actually come away quite well, up to 7th. However, Dusty Lusky has fallen down considerably. He's now dropped down to 19th. And Mopower Cowboy, I was just temporarily along with him. He has lost that front wing. Might be a case for a virtual safety car, and there it is.
Ray is very thankful that ghosting exists, I think, on that one. Goodness gracious me. Dusty, though, doesn't seem to have any damage, which is probably the important thing for the remainder of this race. Lightworks managed to get back past Scornsy as well on that opening lap melee, but he's lost quite a bit of ground today, so now 2.5 seconds back. I don't think we'll see any strategy pit stops, maybe for some damage, if there is any within the field somewhere. Probably Mo Power, who seems to have clobbered that wall pretty hard, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if any of the leaders can actually put pressure on each other, and who can get the virtual safety car restart right.
And I tell you what, a lot of these more, what's the word I'm looking for? More seasoned drivers definitely know how to time these virtual safety car restarts, as it looks like now Scornsy, just in the virtual safety car, has now dropped outside of 1.5 seconds back to Lightwork, and now Lightwork finally slowing himself down. I think Dace has actually got away quite well of this. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of Lightwork, as green flag back in the air. As it looks right now, we do have Smith Pell gaining on Scavney here, as they travel through the second Lesmo. It looks like for now everything is calmed down. But a very interesting lap 1, and a lot has happened. Here's KB11. He's side by side with the McLaren of Slayerized, who, by the way, looks like he's taking a trip through the gravel, as a lot of the floor on the right-hand side does look to have maybe, well, I can't tell if it's damage or just, you know, just for looks, but it certainly seems like he's taking a trip through the gravel, as KBO7 very much able to get around that left-hand side. And it looks like Galloway and Ray Lobo going side by side. This is the big one at this moment in time. A-Dub only within 3.5 tenths back to Smith Pell, as now DRS is enabled. We'll have to see. Wait, is that right? Yes, DRS is enabled. A-Dub here. Does he have perhaps the move on Smith Pell heading into the first corner? Yeah, I think he had a look, but backed out of it. As going into that corner, Smith Pell's had a bit of a wiggle there. Does A-Dub, is he going to be able to capitalize? It looks like for now, no changes whatsoever, actually.
Yeah, A-Dub's a smart guy. I'm sure he'll be thinking about the next 24 laps, not just the corner ahead of him. You know, you've got to be smart, got to pick your moments correctly, and I think he's been doing a very good job of that all season.
Yellow flag towards the middle. No, Dace has gone off.
And I called
and that is... Oh, and yes, he did as well. He said, should Dace keep it clean, he'll definitely have himself a foot in the proceedings here. And the safety car out on track. Now, he's lost that coming out of the first Lesmo. Perhaps, has he maybe just caught oversteer? Has he hit the gravel? I'm not quite sure, but either way, Dace, who, by the way, started, what was it, third that he started in. That has not gone to plan whatsoever for him, and now the safety car, which it's still, I think, a little bit too early to be making any sort of strategical stops here, but we'll have to wait and see. Lightwork does have the lead for now, although his day is going to get much more difficult once the safety car comes in, as it looks like Lightwork, we had a look there, Escavney does come in, so perhaps a little trickery then from Lightwork, who had a very severe swerve on his way out. El Majaka, one of the drivers coming in. This is quite interesting from him. We'll have to see. He's putting on the hard tire. He's got wing damage, hasn't he? Yeah, he's adjusting it.
He's in as well, who was obviously running up in that top 4 train there. So that's going to be interesting. He's gone on to the mediums, is that?
Scavney has...
On the tyre graphic there, yeah, he's on the hards. So he's going to be going to the end. It's an interesting call. Obviously, you're not going to lose anywhere near as much time in the pit stops as you normally would under green flag conditions. He's going to catch up straight back to the back of the train, but I'm sure those mediums are feeling pretty much brand new and fresh on the front runners, so they're still going to have quite a big pace advantage. So it's just going to be down to whether they can offset that pit stop to their pace, which I think drivers like Scornsy and Lightwork should be able to do, but whether they will is a completely different story.
Absolutely, and this is the interesting thing as well. You have to consider Scavney, El Majako, and the rest now, actually, they're not in clean air anymore. They've got the whole grid ahead of them. I don't necessarily picture them as drivers that thrive under this pressure of having the majority of the grid ahead of you. Drivers like, as well as Majako, as well as Lightwork, as well as Scornsy, all thrive in having clean air. These drivers definitely now need to absolutely keep their wits about them, and as you said, it's a very interesting strategy call. Sometimes it really is just safer to do what the driver ahead of you does. So drivers like Scornsy have said, I'm just going to base what I do off of Lightwork, as drivers like Scavney and Majako have said, well, hang on just a minute, I might have something here, I'm going to take the risk. Very interesting call by them. Will it pay off? I'm not quite sure it will. It's despite the hards definitely going to be able to last that long, the pace advantage they're going to have isn't going to be there for quite a while, and they've got a lot of traffic to deal with. I don't know. It's a risky call. It really.
Yeah, exactly right. It's going to be really interesting to see what goes on with the pit strategies. So if we have a look at the number of stops, Scavney is the highest up of the people that stopped, and then just behind him it's Sharia, then Slayer, then Jacko. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, if these guys can make their way through the immediate group ahead of drivers like VTEC and Ray Lobo that perhaps aren't quite as quick, if they can get through them without getting held up so much, then they could be in the money here. But that's the whole risk and reward of it. You really don't know until you know.
Absolutely right, and only 2 drivers remaining on the softs, that being the Williams combo then of Tweezer and Ray Lobo, who find themselves now within the top 10, which is hopefully they can hold on to that position. That's not something we've said too many times this season for them, but now this is their chance to perhaps maybe make somewhat of an impact here. The majority of the grid, I'd say, on the medium tires. Yeah, I can't quite do math in my head. Scornsy's just DNF'd. Are you serious? What's happened there?
He's joined GSR, and it's not even taken him a full race to become a GSR driver, because in the wall he goes straight away. That's I don't know how he's managed that under safety.
How?
Something calamitous has occurred there.
How has he done that? Now that is...
I mean, that is such a strange place to DNF. Facing the
and he's actually crashed as well. He's actually crashed as well. It's not like he's had some sort of, like, wheel mount. Maybe that's what's happened. Maybe his wheel's disconnected and he's hooked straight into the wall there. That is something I would never expect. I mean, Scornsy, not a driver to often make mistakes at all. Never mind a DNF, even under a safety car. That is wild.
It's hard to think that the F1 cars even have the steering lock to end up in the position that he's actually in there. That's and I don't think we saw any penalty. We didn't see any penalties given out through the field, so I don't think it's been caused by contact with another driver necessarily. That's going to be really interesting to find out what's caused that.
I'll just keep my eye then on the Discord chat here. Nothing yet. Scornsy has left the session, but at the beginning of this race we were talking about how the door may have been left open of the championship standings, being that Almajako had qualified as low as he did. Now, I mean, his biggest championship rival is out of the Grand Prix in unbelievably confusing fashion. Dusty Lusky at this moment in time finds himself 16th. Mind you, he might be on a strategy benefit here, being on the fresh hard tires, but he's not had himself an easy day either. That is, I mean, I would never.
Yeah, I mean, a cloud of bewilderment has certainly settled across the commentary box. I've got absolutely no idea what could have even happened there. That's it's going to be interesting. But we've got the message now that the safety car will be coming in this lap. So the Aston Martin 1-2 will end, at least for now. Lightwork going to be leading us off. The drivers weaving to get that tyre temperature as well. They want those mediums warmed up for the start of this safety car. And it's the game of cat and mouse then. Will he go now? Will he go now? And will he go? And there he goes. And it's absolute chaos behind. That's M. Galloway. Nearly on the grass. We've got yellow flags already. Someone seems to have had an issue near the start-finish line. It's absolute chaos. It's A-Dub and KB going side by side. And 2 into 1 doesn't go, but they somehow managed to tiptoe around it. M. Galloway's off on the grass there. He's going to lose a few positions as well coming through Curva Grande. Ray Lobo and Nicky both sneak past. Lightwork already over a second ahead in the lead though from Smith Pell. KB behind him as well. A-Dub settling into P4 with Tweezer behind him. Galloway and J Dunk fighting as well now. Scabney gets the run on Galloway and past he goes. Galloway with a little bit of a wiggle there. They might have made a little bit of contact, but they both seem to get away scot-free as Almajako gets past M. Galloway as well. So the ones that pitted do seem to be making their way through the field at a decent rate, especially on the safety car restart where there's been a little bit of chaos, as there always is. I think we might have hotspot back now after some time.
Yes, for some reason, yeah, that's gone quite weird. It does seem like the drivers on. Oh, has someone just gone off there? Yes, the Aston Martin of Galloway, nearly.
The whole time since the restart. Sharir gets past Ray.
Yeah,
Dunk going down the inside of Ray Lobo. Into Parabolica, Ray Lobo getting wide, and Scabney's having a look down the inside as well now. Lightwork setting the fastest lap of the race. It's going to be a drag race down to turn 1. Scabney cuts across Ray Lobo. He wants that slipstream from Jonathan Dunk, who could find himself under pressure into turn 1. But if anything, it looks like he might be attacking Nicky, who then pulls to the inside of Tweezer. Will he get it?
Oh, Scabney's gone off!
He will.
Scabney has... I don't actually know what's happened there. It looks like maybe he's been hit from behind as the car was actually angled in then towards the left as it pulls Sebastian Vettel, runs over every... advertising board there is. It looks like Galloway now round the outside then of Ray Lobo, who maybe has gone a bit slow then going through Curva Grande. That was a bit odd. he's lost some front wing as well, has the Williams. Yes, he has. The Ray Lobo has lost the end plate on the right front side, which I might have to assume has gone on with Scavney there, who has now dropped back down has dropped down to 13. Jonathan Dunk now to the inside then of Tweezer, heading down, apparently it's called Seraglio, as it turns out, or some Italian pronunciation of that. As they make their way down now towards Ascari, it looks like...
Ooh, the check-up from Tweezer, and Vitek makes a little bit of contact. There's 3 wide in the second half of Ascari.
Wow.
M. Galloway getting very opportunistic there. Manages to get past the both of them on the exit.
Oh, I tell you what, that was a sweet bit of driving then.
That was very, very sketchy. Knuckles and Vitek as well going side by side into Parabolica. Vitek gets the move done, and you could actually have a look at Tweezer here. Yes, that's 2 moves in 1 for Vitek.
Gavney's still down to the inside, using his energy store as well. He's got the Alfa Romeo ahead of him inside. It looks like Dusty Lusky side by side now with Galloway, heading into the first corner. Does Dusty Lusky have the advantage? I don't think he would on the outside. It looks like Scavney as well has missed the chicane as he's gone straight off there over the...
Catch it.
Oh, something has happened behind that.
He was wrestling the car, then he got the pull down so quickly, and nearly completely lost it. Ray Lobo in the pits to obviously fix that wind damage that was hampering his pace rather significantly. Knuckles and Tweezer going at it as well. Knuckles losing a couple of positions there as he's pushed a little bit out of shape. Through the Lesmos they go though, settling back into single file. Are they? No, they aren't. That's Sharia getting past Tweezer there, or successfully defending. I'm not sure which one. I think he might have overtaken him. Tweezer with the DRS, but I don't think he's going to be able to answer back into Ascari. He's just a little bit too far back. It probably wouldn't be a wise move anyway. Yeah, he thinks better of it. KB and A-Dub up front as well, fighting over that P3, the final position of the podium. You've got to think KB is going to have a great run down the straight on A-Dub. Depends if A-Dub's going to have the DRS. He does, but KB's used up all of that energy from his battery to draw ahead of A-Dub, who doesn't try and fight it back around the outside. He's just going to settle into position, maybe try to switch back, looking to get a good exit into Curva Grande, but it doesn't quite work as M. Galloway gets past Dusty Lusky as well.
And meanwhile, during all of this battling, Lightwork has amassed a nearly 3.2 second lead over Smith Pell, as it looks like the battling behind him really helping his cause then. As it looks like Dusty Lusky... Oh, Nicky's gone off, and that has gone... What's he done there? That is quite an odd place to lose the car. I have to assume that perhaps contact was made. Oh, Lightwork's gone off as well. He has spun it round. That's coming out of the second Lesmo, and now suddenly finds himself all the way down in 5th, about to be 6th, as El Majacco finds a way around the left-hand side. That was rather sudden then from the Aston Martin. I believe it's the 2nd week in a row that we've had the leader really like spin out of the lead then. It happened last week in Monaco as well. It may have actually been Lightwork now that I think of it. But that leaves KBO7 within a 10th of Smith Pell as they now go through Parabolica. Who is going to get the better of it here? A-Dub, mind you, he's in this battle as well, although he's not exactly in the immediate position, as it looks like as Knuckles lost a position there. Yes, he has. KBO7 down to the inside on Smith Pell, heading into the first corner. And yeah, he's going to have that one, I'm afraid, quite easily, as A-Dub now really trying to force his way into this battle. The top 3 now all within a second of each other, as behind, Nicky64 has gone off again.
Yeah, he's not having a great time of it, is he? Unfortunately for him, he was running pretty high up as well earlier on. He's going to keep at it though. We've got Lightwork in the pits as well. He's serving a penalty at the moment. Unless that was just that might have just been a strange little glitch there. That's Vitek going slowly. But he seems to have recovered it. Vitek always has some interesting strategies though, where you never know with Vitek. Has he span, or is it a ploy?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I gotta say though, this is as Ray Lobo picking up 5 seconds, speeding into the pit lane.
A-Dub's putting a lot of pressure on Smith Pell here, and as I say, that Smith Pell seems to get an absolute rocket ship exit from Ascari.
Let's see, they look pretty dead even on actual speed. In fact, A-Dub's about 7-8 kilometers an hour faster than the Alpine in front of him. But again, this is the thing that we've noticed with this new generation of cars. You really have to be within about 2/10 of the car ahead to really have a opportunity to overtake. So Smith Pell, I'm afraid, isn't going to get the attempt this time, as Galloway's actually down the inside of El Majacco, and he's made that one. Well, it looks rather easily. DRS was barely in play for him, and he's had it done. Smith Pell still looking to get back to KBO7. Oh, he's had a big wiggle then. That might open the door for A-Dub, although A-Dub's not close enough behind to make anything happen. But Smith Pell has then just lost a couple more tenths. So it looks like at this moment in time, KBO7 has the lead. Smith Pell second, A-Dub third. Jonathan Dunk second and a half behind in fourth. And then behind him, nearly 4.5 seconds, M. Galloway. Very much under pressure from El Majacco and Dusty Lusky, but could be a very, very good one here. Is almost edging towards halfway through.
Vicious move. Trying to get around the outside of the chicane there, but yeah, he couldn't. I don't know if he actually wanted to make that move or if he was just caught off guard by where Ray broke, but yeah, he's lost a little bit of time trying to get that one to work. VTEC's actually on the back of him now, deploying the overtake as well. He might be trying to make a move into Ascari. Still deploying. Knuckles deploying as well to defend, and I think Knuckles is just going to have this one. At least for the time being. VTEC looking a little bit punchy though, as Lightwork picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings with the track limit. Knuckles running low on the ERS. Trying to survive the pressure from VTEC.
So KBO7 and A-Dub have found their way into the pits, assuming they're putting on the hard tires. Smith Pell, Jonathan Dunk, they've stayed out, as well as M. Galloway. El Majacco, who, mind you, pitted under the safety car, has found himself up into fourth. So this is quite interesting here. Medium tires, as far as I can tell, I mean, they've actually gone a little bit early, it seems, haven't they? As Lightwork picking up the fastest lap, 1:22.644. But now, and it was actually quite upsetting, as Jonathan Dunk was really right in that battle then for the podium spots as the drivers were going into the pits. He had actually gained quite a significant amount of time to him, as now he's within 0.8 of a second of Smith Pell, DRS in his favor, but I'm afraid a bit too far behind to make anything happen, as well, Smith Pell's actually just picked up 3 seconds then.
Yeah, this could be looking good for Jonathan Dunk, honestly, if he can just keep it clean. But I did say that one about Date, and that didn't turn out great either, so we'll have to wait and see. There's a long way to go now. Only about halfway through this race. VTEC getting past Ray as well. Dusty looking to maybe put some pressure here on El Majacco, who is in turn trying to put pressure on M. Galloway. And that's the yellow flag. That's the phone. Is that Ray? That is Ray. Facing the wrong way in the exit of Ascari. Clearly got a little bit of oversteer that he couldn't quite catch if he's going to get by him as well.
So Smith Pell, the only driver then to come in, as it looks like, I think he's more just trying to cover off the A-Dub and KBO7's pit maneuvers then, as he's come in the lap later. But Jonathan Dunk stays in the lead then. Dusty Lusky looks like has lost a little bit of time then back to El Majacco, as he was right close with him not too long ago, and now seems to have fallen out just a little bit. Majacco within 4.5 tenths on Galloway in front of him. This could eventually be for the lead of the Grand Prix, as right now, should Jonathan Dunk choose to pit, he'll only really be dropping to about 10th or 11th. So we'll have to wait and see if his strategy pays off. Currently 13 laps on the medium tire. He's got naturally, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he'll come out ahead of KB, but who's to say KB stays in the position that he does? This one very well could go many different ways.
Yeah, we've got A-Dub. Looks like he might actually be able to make a move here on Smith Pell. I want to get this done before they arrive to Ascari, so that there's not so much risk involved, and yes, he does. That's a pretty easy move with the DRS there for A-Dub, and yeah, Jonathan Dunk is looking in an absolutely fantastic spot here, actually. Had a little look at the leader timings earlier. Lightwork 33 seconds off the lead. But you never know. If there's another safety car, I would not rule out Lightwork, honestly, at all, because he's shown that he has probably the best pace in the field by a couple of tenths. And a couple of tenths is a lot around here.
Absolutely, it is. And Dusty Lusky once again within half a second on Jacko. Still not really close enough to make anything happen. Behind it seems like the two Red Bulls within close quarters of each other, and they've got Shariah Coleslaw up ahead of him. Now, mind you, Mo Power's got 8 seconds penalty. Scavney's got 3. But I highly doubt the two teammates are going to battle it out with each other, but you never know. We've seen crazier things. In fact, we've seen El Majacco and KB07 battle it out at Imola, which I believe resulted in KB having somewhat of an off at that during that instance. And now Dusty Lusky's got DRS to Jacko, 0.3 of a second behind, but again, it just doesn't look like he's got enough there. Mopao is going to go down to the inside of Shiraya on his way in towards Ascari, and he's got that one quite easily, but Shiraya knows he doesn't necessarily need to battle the two Red Bulls, as, well, there you go. One of them has just crashed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a full-course safety car.
Oh, it's a safety car as well.
And like a slight overreaction there from virtual race control.
Well, just as you were saying, the safety car has come out and has now thrown a complete and total wrench into everyone's plans here. Now, unfortunately, Jonathan Dunk already passed the pit lane. Galloway coming in now, Jacko coming in, Dusty coming in, everyone and their brother, perhaps their mother as well, coming in. This one has very much left Jonathan Dunk out to dry here, hasn't it? Because that safety car has come out and he was past the pit entry. This one has gone very wrong for him.
It should be okay because he hasn't caught the safety car himself. So until he or KB, if KB gets past him in the pit lane, catches the safety car, they should still be under the same delta. But I'm not entirely sure on that one. We'll have to wait and see.
Assuming Jonathan Dunk is going to come back around in pit, that'll put KB. Well, we're not too sure on the how long it'll take to get down the pit lane. We're going to assume somewhere around 25 seconds. So perhaps Jonathan Dunk will come out ahead of or behind KB07. He's definitely going to be within the top three. You'd have to believe. And mind you, he's going to be on. He's going to be on the better terms here as well, because he will be on the freshest tires out of anyone in the top four. Galloway behind in fifth has actually just gone on to the softs. With 11 laps to go. That one, I gotta say, that is a bold attempt there from Galloway. Will he perhaps have enough pace at the end of it to make something happen? Now, naturally, you're not going to lose that much, you're not going to have that much tire wear under safety car, but that is, I gotta say, that is a bold call from him.
Dunk's done the same thing as well. He's gone onto the softs also.
And he is going to come out well ahead of KB as well, isn't it? Yeah.
There is going to be a crazy pace difference between P2, 3, 4 and P1 and 5 who are going to be on those softs, so I expect them Galloway to be making a desperate charge through, because he'll know he can't get stuck behind the hard tyre runners, because once those tyres start to go off a cliff, he's not going to find it easy to overtake. He needs to get past as quick as he can and pull the DRS gap, and then hopefully he can just sort of manage his tyres and disappear into the distance. But I really don't think softs is the right call here. I'm not sure. I feel like mediums possibly could have been better, but the field is pretty bunched up. I mean, May Lobo is not.
Well, you have to feel for. I was going to say, you have to feel for KB, A-Dub, and Smith Pell, because they have rather been caught out by the safety car. Mind you, now on some of the oldest tires on the grid, Ray and Slayerized, both McLarens in excess of 6 laps old on their hards. But now, with everyone behind on fresh tires, you'd have to believe that positions 2 through 4 may just be in somewhat of a hole here, as now you've got Galloway behind on the softs, Jonathan Dunk ahead on the softs, Majacco and everyone else behind. Those mediums are still going to be faster, I'd have to think, than older hards. I mean, really, they could be in trouble here. They're going to have to defend. It'll only be really who makes the least amount of mistakes within those drivers that will stay atop. Jonathan Dunk has played this one to a T. I think really he's had this race perhaps handed to him, assuming he doesn't make any mistakes. KB07 has got a lot of work to do here, because not only he's got fast driver ahead of him, he's got a lot of them, and championship contenders immediately behind him.
Yeah, and I think it looks like Jacko might be in a position to swipe away a podium, honestly, as well, from P6, the highest up of the medium runners, but that's going to depend on the restart as well, because if Dusty gets by him into turn 1, then that, I'd put my money on Dusty then to get it, so it's going to be really interesting. We've got a lot of different tyre strategies in play here. You'd think J Dunk has this pretty much in the bag, but now that I've said that, that means he'll probably DNF on the safety car. It's just going to depend on those tyres as well. If the safety car comes in this lap coming up, then I don't know. I think the softs can make 8 laps, but I don't think they're going to be in their prime when they get to the end of it, or should I say in their options.
Ah, very nice. It's tricky. It's tricky because really, you're looking at a situation now where it's like, it's really a case of take the pace now or take the pace at the top end of the race, really. Because Jonathan Dunk, we're going to have to assume, being on the fresh softs, he's going to have a great getaway here. But does that hold up? Once DRS comes into play, is he going to be able to get out far enough away? How much of a roadblock is KB, A-Dub, and Smith Pell going to play for the drivers behind? Galloway on the softs, as well as we stated, behind him. El Majacco now has got a quick driver ahead of him. He might actually be in a bit of trouble here because he's going to have to work to get around Galloway ahead of him. And Dusty Lusky, we're going to go ahead and assume, is going to be aggressive on the safety car restart. Little to no time left in the race. He's still got some points to make up here. This one could be quite the barn burner of a finish here. And by the way, let's not forget, these safety cars do come out for whatever they feel like. This would be... Don't rule out the possibility of having 3 different races turn into Abu Dhabi 2021 with having a safety car come out and then end the race with 2 or less laps to go. It very well could happen. And I tell you what, this was rather a very unexpected safety car as well, because it didn't, obviously, as you said, there wasn't much debris on the circuit. There wasn't a car that had DNF'd. So we'll have to wait and see. Anything is possible here.
And Tweezer can't quite catch up enough this lap to bring the safety car in, unfortunately. So we are going to have to do another lap on the safety car. Another thing to mention as well is this isn't going to be great for some of the drivers with penalties. I mean, maybe with the maybe excluding Lightwork, who needed this anyway with the position he was in, but drivers like Scabney and Smith Pell, they've got a lot fewer laps now to try and pull out a gap to the cars behind to get them out of that penalty range. So drivers like Smith Pell and Scabney could be losing a few positions here come the end of the race. Tweezer's now pretty much caught up. So he'll definitely be in this lap anyway. I think we would, even if he didn't catch up, honestly, with how long it's been out for. But hopefully this is the last one of the race and we can race until the finish. But you just don't know with this game, and just with how unpredictable racing is in general, you know. Could give it 2 laps.
Absolutely.
And go flying into the wall, and I mean, you could give it 5 laps and absolutely nothing could happen, and the safety car could come out. You don't know, do you? So.
Definitely a lot of question marks in play. I would hope it doesn't come out. I would really hope that we do have a legitimate race to the finish here. Really quick, let's take a look at who has gained and lost the most. Jonathan Dunk up 17 positions since the initial start. KBO7. As I was saying at the off, that he had a lot to prove today, and he really needed to have himself a good day to establish himself once more. He is up 11. Safety car in this lap. VTEC's up 10. Lightwork, after his incident then, he is down 12. And then actually Scornsy and Dace, both with their DNFs, find themselves down 15, down 18. But safety car on its way in here. Jonathan Dunk, obviously, as you can see, slowing down the grid quite considerably as everybody weaves back and forth trying to get their tires up to temperature here. What kind of trickery does Jonathan Dunk play regarding the beginning to the safety car here? How much better of a start will he have than KB behind him? I tell you what, this is going to be quite the interesting one here. How much does El Majacco need here? What will he be able to amount here to get himself perhaps even into the podium places? We're going to have to wait and see, as Jonathan Dunk now holding them up as they well past now the apex of Parabolica. Who gets off to the better start? KB really right alongside him, just waiting for it. And KB Jonathan Dunk.
Good restart there, not too bad. Better than they did when Lightwork was getting the restart anyway. But I think Jonathan Dunk might just see off this attack.
Oh, here comes Galloway right on that right-hand side. Might do in both A-Dub and Smith Pell then, and he nearly has. He looked for it. Smith Pell did not get the best getaway, as behind Dusty Lusky and Majacco, as we predicted, side by side. Dusty Lusky passed through the grass. Wow, and it's 3 abreast. No, and he's going to slide, but does he save it? No, he doesn't. Oh!
I thought he'd caught it. I thought he'd caught that. I really did. It looked like the car stabilised itself and then snapped the second time. Perhaps a little bit of grass or dirt on the tyres meant that it just went when he put the power back down again. He'd be kicking himself for that. That saved Jacko's bacon a little bit as well. It looked like he was probably going to fall behind them. Great race as well for Sharia Coleslaw up in 7th. He's doing a good job. And blue flag,
I tell you what,
Lobo, who's right in the middle of this train.
Well, yeah, naturally, as you would, but right lucky that El Majacco didn't actually get involved in that. The drivers were 3 abreast then going through Curva Grande, and somehow Somehow Dusty didn't really shoot back onto the middle of the circuit after hitting the wall. Thankfully, he stayed right there. Car off towards the back. It is Ray Ray, and he's gone off actually going past Ascari, and another safety car. And now, does anyone choose to come in for softs? It looks like KB might just do that, but has he made a mistake as no other driver coming in, minus that then of Slayerized, who gets 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane naturally?
I think that's a really bad call there by KB, I'm being honest, unless he's got some damage or something that we didn't notice, because you're going to fall all the way to the back of that queue with 6 laps remaining, maybe 5 after the safety car comes back into the pits. I don't see how that's a good call, I really don't.
That was definitely, I think, I 100% agree with you, that was definitely an error there by the Ferrari, who would have only had to hold off the lead drivers for maybe 3-4 laps the maximum once the safety car had come in, and now finds himself down in 14th, really behind the 8 ball here. Despite being on the fresh softs, that's not going to mean much on this track where really it is dependent just on the straight line speed, and once DRS gets into play, which we're only going to have a couple of laps of. But as it stands now, Jonathan Dunk has the lead. A-Dub has managed to hold on to second, Galloway third, Smith Pell fourth, Majako fifth, and Shariah sixth. A lot of drivers. Man, I tell you what, I cannot get over. I'm sorry, that was really not the best call there from KB07. That should not have happened. I sincerely apologize to him, but that was not a good call.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. M. Galloway looking in a decent position. This is good for those guys like Jonathan Dunn that did pit for the softs. A little bit more time on the safety car for them to eke out the life of those tyres. And yeah, Smith Pell really in not a good situation with that penalty. Hopefully he can get that removed, because he's going to lose a few places, I think, from this, with how few laps are going to be remaining. I'd imagine the safety car would be coming in this lap, but I'm not sure it's actually completed a lap. It hasn't, so maybe it will have to stay out another lap. I'm not 100% sure. The game doesn't seem entirely consistent on it, honestly, but hopefully it'll be in this lap, because we want to see as much racing as we can.
It's quite interesting, really. I mean, I don't know what necessarily determines how long the safety car stays out for. I mean, obviously it looks like we're going to get the rest of the grid caught up to itself here momentarily. Just the Mercedes, then Dusty Lusky making his way back, who it does look like, has he pit fairly recently as well, or was he perhaps caught up in that incident there? I can't quite tell, but he is quite far back. Knowing this game, though, I'd have to believe that safety car is going to stay out at least another maybe 1 or 2 laps. It doesn't usually
complete a full lap before it decides to pit, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not sure if this one's even caught up enough anyway, honestly. This is just approaching Lesmo 1 now, as we reach Ascari, I believe. Drivers like Scabney, Smith Pell, Light Work, Mo Power. And that's a DNF.
Oh, Tweezer has gone off.
What is going on?
What's happened there? And he's had...
KB has had an incident with him, because he's got the 5-second time penalty as well.
Wow. Where, and that's in the middle of the straight as well.
Incident as well, yeah. Well, that's your confirmation.
KB07.
Going to stay out anyway. Yeah, KB
He's lost the end plate on that left-hand side, he has.
Oh, yeah. Time for him to pit again. As we look backwards from the rear wing of... all over the rear wing of Nicky to try and spot that damage, and you can see it there on the left hand side of the front wing. In he goes into the pits, and he should hopefully be able to get that swapped out and then catch straight back up to the back of the train by the end of the lap. Well, or by the end of sector 2, really, because we don't want that to induce another lap of safety car. He does get to serve that penalty though in the pits under safety car, so it's not really much of a penalty for him, honestly. It pretty much makes absolutely no difference, because he's going to be in the exact same position anyway after making that contact than he would if he didn't get the penalty.
That was honestly, I struggled to know what's actually happened there to cause that. Was it perhaps just momentary frustration that's caused a mistake? Was it perhaps... I mean, I actually have no idea, but as we have the field come through the 2 Lesmos now, Jonathan Dunk, mind you, still in the lead. This is helping him, because all it's doing is providing that A-Dub doesn't necessarily get enough time to make a run at him, perhaps. Smith Pell on 3 seconds, Scavney on 3 seconds, Lightwork on 3 seconds, Mopower on 3 seconds, and Slayerized on 5 seconds. So as you said, Will, there's going to be a lot of drivers losing ground here via penalties, and that's obviously not something you want to see, but it looks like safety car staying out another lap then. This is, unless it makes a last-minute decision.
Late, yeah, but I'm not sure. I mean, KB is caught up. We do have the entire train here, and it does look like it's going to do another lap, unfortunately, which is rather frustrating. We're going to have to trundle around at safety car speeds for yet another lap, so it will be coming in at the end of lap 24, beginning of lap 25 for a... Oh!
No, maybe not.
Oh, that is the latest call I've ever seen with a safety car.
I tell you what, that is within 300 meters of the entry to pit lane then. That is quite late. Jonathan Dunk, you can see, I think Jonathan Dunk may have been caught out just entirely by surprise. He has gotten away quite well, so maybe it's the same for A-Dub, who now is under immediately pressure then from Galloway, who's going to probably look within that slipstream. Can he find the overtake? Oh, he almost had it.
Switchback could come through here for Galloway. He has got that fresh rubber. He should get the better traction. That's a Red Bull.
Uh-oh.
I think that's Scavney. Or no, is it Mopower?
It's both of them, actually.
Oh, it's both of them doing a little duet. Mopower picking up 10-second time penalty for exceeding the track limits, and Galloway should see off this pressure from Smith Pell as well into the chicane. It's not been a great race for Red Bull, has it?
No, and unfortunately, KV07 then 5 seconds ignoring yellow flags. It does look like Jonathan Dunk has gotten away quite well, which, yeah, props to him because he's actually had no time to react. Oh, Elma Jacko! I tell you what, whoever that was ahead of him, yeah, was it Smith Pell there? Had quite the wiggle.
A little bit of oversteer, and it's caused contact with Jacko, who seems to have gotten away without damage, but he's lost time. He won't be very happy about that. Sharia
that was...
through. L plan coming into full effect there, I believe.
Oh, I tell you what, Jacko is really quite lucky that nothing more has come out of that, as that was quite the severe wiggle ahead of him. Great thinking by him to somehow avoid that, as we're going to come back to the line here with 3 laps to go. If I'm to be correct. Elma Jacko now trying to find his way back to Smith Pell. A-Dub now has fallen outside of nearly... Well, he's outside of 7/10 of a second on Jonathan Dunk. Naturally, you would expect that with the hard tires versus the softs. M. Galloway, he's actually having a little bit of a struggle as well. He's now almost outside of a second on A-Dub. So it looks like M. Galloway's had himself a little bit of a struggle here. KV07 and Lightwork side by side now. Dusty Lusky, I believe, has just gotten around Lightwork then. It's actually KB and VTech that was battling there.
Yeah, Lightwork's going to probably struggle to finish in the points here, honestly, with that penalty. Oh, off goes Dusty. Is that Dusty? Yeah, off goes Dusty.
Yeah.
After setting a purple sector 1, he tries to set the purple sector 2 by missing out a corner, and it hasn't worked for him. Down to P13 he goes. Slayerized putting the pressure on Knuckles. He looks to the inside. That's a really stupid move there by Slayerized, it must be said. And yeah, I mean, he's gotten what anybody could see coming, I think, from that one. Fortunately for Knuckles, I think he's gotten away scot-free, otherwise that would be a steward's report, because that was incredibly unwise, I believe.
Perhaps desperation setting in here then in the final few laps here at Monza. Jonathan Dunk has a 1.5-second lead over A-Dub. Don't think DRS is activated yet. We haven't seen the message. There it is, so we'll have to expect it when they go out of the second Lesmo. It looks like Elma Jacko, can he find his way up to Smith Pell? It looks like KB's actually gotten around VTech. These two have been battling since the safety car came in. And finally, KB actually finds his way around VTech then. KB's picked up an additional 5-second penalty. Do you know what that was for? He had the 5 seconds for the collision under the safety car. What has he picked up that other 5 seconds for?
I'm not 100%. I think it was the not adhering to yellow flags for that.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be for anything. Knuckles and Scavney going side by side here. They make a little bit of contact. Scavney has to skip the chicane. Dusty Lusky switchbacks both of them. He goes, "Oh, thank you there, bud. I'll take that." All the way back to British Columbia. He runs with that position. And I vow never to do that accent ever again. If I know Jacko, I think he's probably not going to go for the move here on Smith Pell unless he absolutely needs to. I know the way Jacko likes to play things, and if he could just stay where he is and pick up the position from the penalty, then he's definitely going to do that rather than take the risk of making an overtake and possibly getting damage. M. Galloway looks to maybe be mounting a new attack on A-Dub as well. Only 4 tenths between the two of them as VTech gets passed by Lightwork. Jonathan Dunk setting the fastest after the race. He has checked out. It's hard to see him losing this now unless he produces the bottle of the century. M. Galloway a little bit too far back from AW. I'd hazard a guess that he has more ERS, yeah, only slightly, but it's a decent enough margin to make a real difference. KB and Smith-Pell fighting as well. Through turn 1, Smith-Pell gets a bad exit though. Lightwork's going to be on the back of him as Slayer picks up a 5-second time penalty. Lightwork looks like he's going to be trying to make a move into the chicane on those fresh softs. He's got the ERS to deploy. Smith-Pell doesn't. Does Smith-Pell fight this? I doubt it. Oh yes, he does. He tries to hang it.
Oh, that's not good.
And that's contact as well. I saw Smith-Pell go in fully opposite lock. It didn't give me a great camera angle on that one, but I think we can imagine what's happened. VTech goes Glacias and sneaks through there, taking both positions up into P7 for VTech. Could even be P6 as well if KB can't build up a 5/10 gap to him, an extra 5/10 gap to him by the end of this lap. Lightwork does not seem to be content sticking behind VTech, even though by gaining the position he wouldn't actually gain at any time. Well, any position, sorry, because of the time penalty. Looks like he will still be going into Parabolica, looking to make the move. Jonathan Dunk is going to cross the line as well to win this one. He weaves in delight. A-Dub picking up the P2. Fantastic drive from him. And from El Galloway. I'm sure Sheree will be very happy with this P4, as will Jacko with P5. KB dropping down to P6 for that penalty.
Oh, goodness gracious. That's, that Alpine, Smith-Pell, I could have sworn on my screen there, just did a full barrel roll. First of all, good props to you for the effort on whatever the Dusty Lusky accent was. That was quite interesting, that. Very, very good attempt. Jonathan Dunk, I gotta say, had himself a very commanding day here. A-Dub did a great to finish second. M. Galloway, very deserved a third. That was a very entertaining Grand Prix then. And just crucially enough, Scornsy and Dace, that's got to be the biggest story of the day. Those two really have dug themselves quite the hole going into the remainder of the season. I'm not quite sure now it's even going to be remotely possible to undo that one. It's been a great work to capitalize on that Hazelma Jacko, who's found himself up to 5th despite all the chaos going around him. It fully deserves the top 5 he's been given today.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic race that was, I must admit. I do not know what on earth went on at the start with Scornsy. I'm going to have to get an answer for that because I can't sleep until I know what happened there. I've never seen anything like that. To be crashed at that part of the circuit under a safety car, no less. That's an interesting one, but I mean, absolutely fantastic drives across the field. Jonathan Dunk did an absolutely incredible job from where he started as well. To win the race, I mean, what a drive. And he gets the style points as well for that celebration.
Well, after a very entertaining Italian Grand Prix, it is Jonathan Dunk taking the win, A-Dub in 2nd, Galloway 3rd, Shirai Coleslaw 4th, Jacko in 5th, VTech 6th, also picking up driver of the day as well, Nikki 64 7th, 8th is KBO 7, 9th Lightwork, 10th Dusty, 11th Smith-Pell, 12th Knuckles, 13th Scabney, 14th Slayer Eyes, 15th Mopow Cowboy, 16th Ray Lobo, and unfortunately Tweezer, Ray, Scornsy, and Dace did not finish the Grand Prix. And well, it's been an absolutely fantastic Grand Prix today, and hopefully it gets even better when next week the league heads to the Hungaroring for round number 12 of the Coleslaw Cup hotspot. It's been me, and thank you, Will Ans, for actually being able to stream this race. That has saved me a lot of work for... It's saved me quite a lot of work this next week, so thank you for that. But yeah, that has been an absolutely brilliant one. Thank you all for watching. Nothing else from me.
Yeah, that's it. Signing off. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next week. Was it Britain for next week? No, Hungary.
Hungary.
And then, yeah, see everybody in Hungary.